We had to go to political classes. And they were so stupid. They would get out there and on a stage, and we would be lined up, and we had to sit. And when you went to these, any time that you went and did business with a Chinese, whether you were being interrogated or go to these political classes, excuse me, you had a log, a tree limb that was sawed off, about 18 inches tall, with a board nailed across it. That's what you sit on. Now, why would you sit? So if you were being interrogated, the interrogator would be sitting in a chair, and you'd be sitting on your little stool. Why would they do that? They did that because that's basic psychology. That's to make you feel inferior. They're bigger than you and more powerful and more important than you. It didn't have much effect on Americans because we don't feel inferior to anybody. That's the national trait. Anyway, this one day, and you had to write a report on it. And I was in a reactionary squad, and they weren't going to write a report on anything. But when the Chinese got upset with you, they cut your food ration down. And when you've had amoebic dysentery and almost died, I probably weighed 80 or 90 pounds. And you don't want anybody fooling around with your food. So the friend of mine and I would write this report. One day he'd be the communist and I'd be the capitalist, and we'd write up all this garbage and send it in. And the next day, we'd switch positions in handwriting. So this one day, I was a communist, and he's scribbling all this garbage down, and I'm going on and on about the camp of war and the camp of peace, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, and how good communism was, and we're writing this stuff down and sending it in. And we saw a shadow on this door. And this is a typical Korean, Japanese, Chinese door you slide. It doesn't open like ours. It slides. We saw a shadow. These buildings had been bombed and rebuilt. And they had paper on the door, and we put bean oil to let some of the light come in. When we saw the shadow, we thought it was somebody coming to see us, which was very unusual. And I was sitting right next to the door, and I went, zip. And there was the interpreter listening to what I had to say. And he was one of the interpreters we were scared of because we called him Horseface. Because for a Chinese, he had a long face, and we call him Horseface. And we were scared of him because he could think like we do. Because I always remember what Rudyard Kipling said, east is east and west is west, and never the twain shall meet. Chinese don't think like we do, and we don't think like they do. Anyway, he was listening, and he said, and he left. Right after that, we started getting mail from home. We had 10 people. We got 10 letters. I got 7 out of the 10. Why do you think I got 7 out of 10? Because this interpreter had heard me, and he said, man, we got a hot one here. I have to encourage him. So I had plenty of people writing me. So when I ended up, I had 53 letters, which was the third highest amount that we could find out in this entire camp. But one day, we were going up in the mountains. We had to go up in the mountains and carry logs back on our back. One time in 2 weeks, I carried back 2,900 pounds of logs. I know, they weighed it. Anyway, we're waiting to march up to the mountain and haul back these logs. And Chinese platoon sergeant said, Sperbeck, needy, chogi taxan muto. In other words, I was going to carry back a lot of wood. And I looked down at him and I said, oopso, ish chogi skoshi muto, a tree limb. Oh man, he went off on that. And he stood me at attention and screamed and hollered at me. Then he went and got the Chinese company commander. He came out buckling on his pistol. That was his badge of authority, because then they didn't wear any rank in the Chinese army. And they do now, but they didn't then. But that pistol, that Russian pistol was his. It told everybody he was a wheel. Anyway, he stood me at attention, screamed and hollered at me some more. So when I came back, I had a big log. Too late. I was on their list then. I didn't get another letter all the rest of the time that I was a PW. And the last letter I'd received from my mother, my father had had a heart attack. Didn't get another letter. After every mail call, the interpreter would come up to me and he'd say, and you, Sperbeck, and you, how is your father? I don't know. I didn't get any mail. Oh, well, better luck next time. Well, they knew they had them and they'd open them. They read it. They knew what was there. But what they didn't know, my father was an alcoholic, mistreated my mother, brothers and sisters, really mistreated them. I didn't care if he'd had a heart attack or not. I was worried about my mother, my brothers and sisters. But if I let them know that didn't bother me, they'd found something else to torment me about.